Maritime Industry Authority has suspended the operations of RDC Rield Marine Services, owner of MT Princess Empress, which caused a massive oil spill in Oriental Mindoro. According to ongoing investigation, the Marina found that the amended certificate of convenience presented for the sunken ship was fake. This after the NCR Regional Director denied signing the permit despite his signature being on the document. Aside from this, the document also showed the director's name misspelled and his designation inaccurate.
The Marina has already issued a directive for the owner of the ship owner of M Tanker Princess Empress, considering po na meron pa rin siyang mga pag-aaring ibang vessels, they have already been suspended po. So they are no longer operating.
Meanwhile, the government raises the alarm as the fishing ban brought about by the oil spill has cost almost 2,000 fishermen around 5 million pesos daily. For this, the Fisheries Bureau now fears for the oil spill's long-term effects on residents' livelihoods as well as on the environment.
Sa kapaligiran, malaki pong impact nito kasi mga critical marine habitats yung tinawaman po ng oil spill at definitely ito po ay makaka-apekto, may negatibong impact po ito doon sa ating mga isda, lalo na po doon sa mga fish larvae, sa mga itlog, doon sa mga bakawanan, at kapag inabot din po itong mga coral reefs, ay definitely ay maapektuhan po ang reproduction. Nakakalungkot ito dahil may long-term effect po ito kasi talaga ang oil spill po ay nakaka-apekto doon sa maging sa paglaki ng isda.
The Philippine Coast Guard confirmed yesterday that oil from the sunken MT Princess Empress has reached the shores of Verde Island in Batangas. But hours later, the PCG seemed to have retracted its statement, saying the island is negative of oil traces. In a statement, the PCG says an aerial inspection of the island and its vicinity waters showed that the areas no longer have traces of an oil spill. Later on, they clarified the traces of oil spill had indeed been monitored in 3 coastal barangays near Verde Island, and that their aerial inspection only covered offshore operations. Verde Island is located in the strait between Batangas and Mindoro, called Verde Island Passage, which is the center of global shore fish biodiversity. It is home to 54 marine protected areas and some endangered and threatened species like whale sharks and manta rays. The VIP also provides food and livelihood to over 2 million people, which is why it being reached by the oil spill is a cause for concern.
Ideally, hindi umabot ang malaking fraction ng oil or ng oil slick sa Verde Island Passage. Kasi ito nga ay tinagurian na sentro ng marine biodiversity. Okay, so ang yamang dagat na makikita sa Verde Island Passage ay walang katumbas sa ibang lugar sa atin dito sa Pilipinas. Protection of this Verde Island Passage is very important for both biodiversity and our food source.
Meanwhile, the remotely operated vehicle from Japan has begun assessing the sunken tanker's situation in the waters of Oriental Mindoro. However, it could take a few days before results are seen and another few days to siphon the oil that continues to leak from the ship. Mon Gualvez with the details.
After almost 3 weeks of Oriental Mindoro dealing with most of the oil spill, the remotely operated vehicle or ROV, which will help locate the sunken oil tanker, has finally arrived in the province. The ROV has been inspected by government agencies including the Customs, Immigration, Quarantine and Coast Guard so it can be allowed to operate in the country. At around 2 p.m., the ROV has reached the Balingawan Point or the area believed to be the site of the wreckage. After the sonar screening, authorities gave the go signal for the ROV to be deployed underwater. 3 to 5 days, that's how long the ROV is expected to come up with a result on the situation of the sunken tanker. It can descend up to 2,000 meters, whereas MT Princess Empress is currently situated 300 to 400 meters below the sea. Only then will responders be able to come up with a plan to siphon the oil from the tanker, which could take a few more days.
Kaya pa ba natin maghintay na another week, sir, sa damages po na dumarating sa atin? this is better than nothing. At least meron na tayong pasimula ngayon. Ang mahalaga lang sa atin ngayon, yung step by step na tama, dumadating sa tamang oras.
For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Watching One News now, I'm Diego Castro. The Philippines and the U.S. will soon announce the location of 4 additional sites under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA. This was confirmed by Philippine Ambassador to the U.S. Jose Manuel Romualdez and U.S. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall III. The officials noted, though, that the announcement should come from President Bongbong Marcos.
The two countries will announce as soon as they can. It's just a question of, I think, coming to mutual agreement about the final announcement.
Meanwhile, Defense OIC Carlito Galvez said Cagayan Governor Manuel Mamba has assured him that he will heed any decision on additional EDCA sites despite the local officials' continued opposition to having an EDCA station in his home province. Mamba earlier expressed worries about it, citing security concerns.
We have already talked to Governor Mamba. He even visited my office in PICC, and he said that for as long as the national government has decided, he will abide with the decision of the president. And we have already decided. I told him that we have already decided, so he will conform with the decision.
So far, EDCA gives American forces access to 5 bases in the Philippines, including the Cesar Basa Air Base in Florida Blanca, Pampanga. Rehabilitation efforts for the base have begun, which will be shouldered by the U.S.
As the president had said, that the alliance should be modernized, and the armed forces also should modernize itself so that it could defend itself. So it's not directed to anybody else, but to honor our obligations with the U.S.
The Foreign Affairs Department will host discussions between the Philippines and China this week. The DFA said it will host the 23rd Philippine-China Foreign Ministry consultations and the 7th bilateral consultations mechanism on the South China Sea. The events are scheduled to take place on March 23 and 24, respectively. The discussions will cover several issues, including economic, people-to-people, maritime, security, and regional matters. The DFA said these meetings are offshoots of President Bongbong Marcos' visit to China earlier this year. The government is set to sell smuggled sugar in Kadiwa stores. The Sugar Regulatory Administration confirms that it has received a memorandum from the palace greenlighting the scheme. The government aims to sell smuggled sugar at around 70 pesos per kilo.
If it remains in the BOC, the only options there are for it to be destroyed or for it to be auctioned. Yung usual kasi nangyayari, pag in-auction natin, yung importer din bumibili ulit. Now, at least, it will be felt by the consumer. Kasi bibenta na po nila ASEC Christine sa Kadiwa.
As of late, sugar has been selling for up to 110 pesos per kilo in retail stores. However, this is seen to go down to 85 to 90 pesos upon the distribution of imported sugar. Stakeholders now seek the distribution of 20,000 metric tons of sugar from the 60,000 metric tons imported since February. However, the SRA says it is unsure if the imported supply has reached local markets. Under Sugar Order Number 6, up to 440,000 metric tons of sugar is authorized for importation. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.